I was doing volunteer work for a youth nonprofit during the summer. It was a youth camp out in a particularly isolated wilderness area that needed fencing replaced. As that was my profession, I was devoting my time to help them replace fencing around the camp. It was a long drive from home through winding country roads most of the way. I was tired after a long hot day of work at the camp. I was probably a bit dehydrated too. Still, it was careless of me to leave my phone resting on top of the car before driving off down the rural highway. But it wasn't until I had gone several miles that I heard a faint thud and realized my mistake. Cursing myself for being so absent-minded, I turned around to backtrack and search for my phone along the road. The midsummer sun was starting to set as I drove slowly along the highway's edge, squinting through the grass for any sign of my phone. But I knew the chances of finding such a small object among these vast fields were slim to none. By the time darkness fell, forcing me to use my car headlights to illuminate the roadside, I still hadn't had any luck. I dreaded having to buy a replacement phone and losing all my unsaved data. As the darkness made my efforts ever more futile, I decided I would head home and return at first light. I had a tablet with a Find My Device app that was paired with my phone. So long as the battery held up, I would find it. I awoke feeling groggy just as the first faint glow appeared on the horizon, eager to resume my search. I checked my tablet and quickly found my phone was pinging on the road where I had left it. I drove back to the highway, retracing my route. As I scrutinized each stretch of grassy field, I couldn't shake a strange nagging sensation that something about the landscape looked different in the eerie pre-dawn light. Now that I was in the area, I pulled over and checked my tablet again. To my surprise, the phone now pinged back as being significantly off the side of the road by several hundred feet. As I looked in the direction of my phone's alleged location, I was met with a wall of thorny brambles and thick brush. It looked like it would be a tough few hundred feet to push through directly. I reasoned that the location might not be quite accurate. At any rate, the phone didn't bounce that far by falling off my car's roof. How would it have gotten there? Assuming my coordinates for the phone might be off, I got out of my car and walked along the shoulder of the road, checking my tablet as I moved. Just up ahead, a narrow dirt road ran off to the right. It was a bit narrow for a vehicle, but was more than adequate to journey down on foot. After about 50 feet, it veered to the right in the direction of where my phone was purported to be, so I started down the path, figuring this would at least lead me closer to my target. I had traveled several hundred feet down the narrow dirt road, occasionally catching a whiff of a decidedly revolting stench. It smelled like raw sewage. Then the dirt road opened up, and ahead, I saw a dilapidated farmhouse. I immediately began to worry about my presence here, though I did not see any trespassing warning signs. I knew enough to be concerned that poor rural folks had a reputation of being hostile to strangers on their land, and these people were obviously downright destitute. The wood frame house was rotting in over a dozen places, the roof covered in several spots with tarps that were themselves dry rotting. The sewage smell was much stronger now. Clearly their septic tank had begun to overflow long ago. In front of the house, a spike had been driven into the ground, attached to a 10-foot chain and doghouse nearby, though no animal was attached to it. The ground was well worn in a circle around the chain and littered heavily with dog excrement, which added to the generally detestable stench of the place. I was glad that the dog was missing from the end of the chain and hoped that it was not prowling about somewhere. The depth of the wear around the chain indicated it was a rather large dog. Focusing back to the task at hand, and with greater urgency, I checked my tablet and oriented myself to the direction of my lost phone. It was very close now, and fortunately away from the rotting house. The signal led me to the edge of the property by the brush line. There, lying in the center of a pile of junk odds and ends, was my phone. It was arranged in some type of ceremonious fashion as the centerpiece of some ritualistic display. Relief surged through me as I snatched the phone back into my possession. But my relief was short-lived as I heard the sound of footsteps behind me. I turned and confronted what looked like a huge dog, its fur filthy and bug-infested. Large parts of its fur were missing, revealing scabby sores. The beast was well over 100 pounds, and with heavy muscular jowls. It growled in a low, menacing tone, baring brownish teeth, stained with black decay. As frightful as that image was, the most disturbing part were its eyes, for it had none, just dark, empty sockets. My terror kept me frozen in place, which was a good thing, for the creature did not advance. It knew I was in the area, but without sight, it did not know my exact location. It raised its nose and sniffed the air, trying to get a clue, but seemed unsure in which direction to advance. My brief paralysis of horror kept me silent and gave me time to reason a course of action. If I could move silently along the edge of the yard back to the dirt road, I could distance myself from this creature and escape back to my car. Carefully checking the ground first for dry sticks or leaves, I took a few tepid steps. The creature did not react. Emboldened, I lengthened my stride with the next few, fighting the urge to break out in a dead run. I was beginning to have hope this was going to work. Then a noise ahead of me caused me to freeze again. Out of the brush line popped a scrawny child, barefoot, dressed in tattered rags. His mouth gaped open in surprise at the sight of me, revealing the same rotted dental condition as the dog. He stared at me wide-eyed, though I should say wide-eye, for he was missing his right eye, there being in its place only a brown crusty socket. My nerves were near a breaking point. Why is everything losing their eyes around here? I gingerly stepped past the child to continue my path towards the dirt road, but the child saw the phone in my hand and lunged for it, then screamed a shrieking, animal-like wail. The dog snarled and bolted in our direction. I couldn't take any more. I broke out into a panicked sprint to the road. The child continued his shrieks, which provided some cover for the sound of my sprinting feet. The dog ran a circle around the boy, snarling and snapping his jaws. Then I heard a door to the house bang open and a deep voice bellowing at me. I was running hard, but was able to take a quick glance to see what new threat was entering the scene. A large, bald, fat man had burst out of the house with a hatchet in hand. He charged at me, bellowing a slew of curses, his huge belly and porky thighs heaving about so wildly it was amazing he could still move so quickly without losing his balance. I put all my focus into my desperate sprint down the dirt road, my only desire being to leave the nightmare scene behind me. I made it to the road junction, gasping for air, but dared not stop till I made it to my vehicle. Finally, I got to my car, scrambling to get the door open. I gunned the engine, and the car peeled out, fishtailing onto the road. The fat man had made it onto the road by then, and there, as I got a better look at him, it was one final chill of terror. He was the most pig-like human I had ever seen, from his upturned nose to his round beady eyes, to his large malformed ears. He screamed unintelligible rantings at me, displaying his few remaining rotten teeth, which gave them a tusk-like appearance. He threw his hatchet at the side of my car as it passed, cracking my side passenger window. I sped away as fast as the old car would go. I did not stop. I did not feel safe till I made it all the way to my town. I have since been struggling to process the horror I had seen. The thought that places like that exist, that people living like that are not far from my home, has left me shaken. I feel I should alert someone about the evil lurking at that desolate road, but whenever I recount the details in my mind, they sound absurd, even to my own ears. In the end, the only thing I could think to do was post a vague warning on the community forum about the location being dangerous, hoping it might keep others from stopping there.